Hello, my name is Cameron Swan, and today I'll be doing my prose over the over the book called A Good Man's Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor. Let's get started. The grandmother did not want to go to Florida. She wanted to visit some type of connections in East Tennessee, and she was seizing to change Bailey's mind. See, Bailey was the son she lived with, her only boy. He was sitting on the edge of his chair at the table, bent over orange sports section of the journal. He was sitting. Now look here, Bailey, she said. See here? Read this. And she stood over one hand on her thigh and hip and the other palm of his bald head, Ralph rattled the newspaper. Here this fellow that called himself the Misfit is a loose from the federal pen and head towards Florida. And if you read this here, you say what he did to the people. Just you read it. I wouldn't take my children in any direction with a criminal a loose in it. I couldn't answer it in my conscience if I did. Bailey didn't look up from his reading, so she wheeled around and faced the children's mother, a young woman in slacks whose face was as broad as innocent as a cabbage and was tied around with a gray handkerchief that had 2 points like a rabbit's ears. She was sitting on the sofa, feeding the baby, his apricots out of a jar. These children had been to Florida, sitting on the sofa. These children had been to Florida before, the old lady said. You all ought to take them somewhere else for a change, so they want to see different parts of the world and be broad. They never been to East Tennessee. The children's mother didn't seem to hear it, but the 8-year-old boy named John Wesley, a stocky child with glasses. And he said, if you don't want to go to Florida, why don't you stay at home? He and the little girl, June Starr, were reading funny papers on the floor. They were trying to keep themselves occupied the whole time reading funny papers. She wouldn't stay at home to be a queen for a day, June Starr said without raising her yellow head. Yes, and what will you do with this fellow misfit call you, said the grandmother. I smack him in his face, said John Wesley, being again he is stocky. She wouldn't stay at home for $1 million, June Starr said. Afraid she'll miss something. She has to go everywhere. All right, miss, the grandmother said. Just remember the next time that you say that when I curl your hair. June Starr's hair was actually naturally curly. That's why she stated that. The next morning, the grandmother was the first one in the car, ready to go. She had her big black valise that looked like the head of a hippopotamus. In one corner, underneath it, she was holding a basket with Petey Sing, hiding a basket with Petey Sing, that's her cat. She intended for the cat to be left alone in the house for about 2 or 3 days because he would miss so much. She was afraid that he might brush against one of the gas burners and accidentally gas himself up. That's other words. I can't pronounce the big word. Her son Bailey didn't like to arrive at a motel with a cat. It's pretty much embarrassing for him. She sat in the middle of the backseat with John Wesley and June Starr on either side of her. Bailey and the children's mother and the baby sat in the front and left Atlanta at about 840 with mileage on the car at 55,890 miles, The grandmother wrote this down because she thought it would be interesting to see how many miles they had been when they got back. It took them about 20 minutes to reach the outskirts of the city. The old lady set herself very comfortable. She removed her white cotton gloves and placed them with the purse on the shelf in front of the back window. The children's mother still had on slacks and still had the green handkerchief on, tied up pretty much, but the grandmother had on a navy blue straw and a sailor hat with a bunch of white violets, on the brim with a navy blue dress with a small white dot in the print. Her collars and cuffs were white, organdy trimmed with lace, and the neckline she had pinned with a purple spray of cloth violets, containing a sachet. In case of an accident, anyone seeing her down the highway would know that she was once a lady, which I find that very funny, very weird, because why would you think about yourself being dead on the highway, and why would they question on you being a lady or not? But that is my prose, and thank you.